Did you know it's illegal to slurp soup in New Jersey or to serve apple pie without cheese in Wisconsin? Today we're biting into 50 of the weirdest, most ridiculous food laws ever written. Some still on the books, others just hilarious relics. Grab a legal snack and let's dig in. 1. In Gainesville, Georgia, the poultry capital of the world, it is illegal to eat fried chicken with anything other than your hands. This isn't just some dusty old rule. It's a point of city pride. The ordinance was passed in 1961 as a publicity stunt to promote the city's chicken industry, and they have fully committed to the bit. They've arrested people for the violation, including a 91-year-old tourist in 2009. The mayor, of course, promptly pardoned her, explaining that they just want people to enjoy their chicken the Gainesville way. It's a brilliant piece of marketing disguised as a law. 2. In the United Kingdom, a 1986 law makes it illegal to handle a salmon in suspicious circumstances. This is, without a doubt, the most wonderfully British law ever written. What exactly constitutes a suspicious circumstance for a salmon? Is it trying to pay for groceries with it? Is the salmon wearing a tiny disguise? The law was actually created to combat fish poaching and illegal sales, but the phrasing is pure comedy gold. It conjures images of shady back alley deals where one person opens a trench coat to reveal, not watches, but a glistening, illicit salmon. 3. In Columbus, Georgia, it's illegal to sell peanuts in city limits after sunset on Wednesdays. This strange ordinance likely dates back to efforts to regulate open-air markets and discourage late-night street vendors. But the wording is so specific it almost feels personal, as if a city official once got woken up by someone noisily hawking boiled peanuts at 11 p.m. and decided enough was enough. It's a charmingly petty piece of food legislation that still raises eyebrows to this day. 4. The French government once waged a culinary war on ketchup. In 2011, France passed a law severely restricting the use of the tomato condiment in its school cafeterias. The official reason was to protect the integrity of traditional French cuisine and promote healthy eating among children. Students are only allowed to have ketchup with one specific dish: French fries, which they are only served once a week. Because nothing says culinary purity like preserving a nation's palate from the horrors of a sweet tomato sauce unless it's on fried potatoes. The logic is wonderfully French. 5. In Wisconsin, a slice of apple pie served in a public restaurant must, by law, come with a slice of cheese. This isn't a friendly suggestion. It was once state statute. While the law is no longer strictly enforced with fines, the cultural expectation is so strong that serving a naked slice of apple pie is practically an act of rebellion. It's a testament to the power of the state's dairy lobby, who successfully argued that the only thing better than an apple is an apple covered in Wisconsin's finest cheddar. 6. Sticking with Wisconsin, the state once fought a literal war over butter, and the legal scars remain. For decades, it was illegal to serve colored margarine in restaurants as a substitute for butter unless a customer specifically requested it. This was the result of intense lobbying from the powerful dairy industry during the Oleo Wars. Some states even went so far as to mandate that all margarine be dyed a humiliating shade of pink to prevent any confusion. Wisconsin was the very last state to repeal its ban on colored margarine in 1967. It was a brutal, high-cholesterol conflict for the soul of American toast. 7. In Maryland, it's illegal to mistreat an oyster. The law is wonderfully vague. It doesn't specify what exactly constitutes oyster mistreatment. Is it a crime to insult its shell, to serve it without a proper lemon wedge? To tell it that you think its cousin, the clam, is far more interesting? The rule likely stems from regulations about handling and harvesting, but the phrasing is what makes it a masterpiece. So if you're ever in Baltimore, be polite to your bivalves. You never know who's listening. 8. If you find yourself in a particular city in New Jersey, you might want to suppress your satisfaction. A local ordinance there makes it illegal to slurp your soup. That's right. The universally recognized sound of enjoying a hot bowl of ramen or tomato soup is a punishable offense. This is a bold legislative move against audible enjoyment, presumably passed by someone who really hated dining with their relatives. Finally, a solution to a problem literally no one had. 9. In Boston, you better not mess with the clam chowder. A law on the books in Massachusetts makes it a crime to use tomatoes in the recipe for New England clam chowder. The penalty? Forfeiture of all the clams in your possession. This law was born from a fierce regional pride and a deep-seated hatred for the tomato-based Manhattan-style chowder. In the eyes of the Commonwealth, adding a tomato to your chowder is not just a culinary mistake. It's a certifiable food felony. 10. In the famously pristine and wealthy town of Carmel by the Sea, California, it was for many years illegal to eat ice cream while standing on a public sidewalk. This ordinance was created to prevent tourists from dripping their cones and making a mess. The law became so infamous that when actor Clint Eastwood was elected mayor in 1986, one of his first symbolic acts was to repeal it, declaring that ice cream cones were safe once more. It's a perfect snapshot of a town so obsessed with aesthetics that a melting scoop of mint chocolate chip was a public menace. 11. In Oklahoma, it is a crime to take a bite out of another person's hamburger. This law isn't about sharing or being polite. It's a statute that protects the sanctity of one's personal burger. While it likely falls under broader laws about destroying someone's property, the specificity is what makes it legendary. This is the ultimate legal defense against that one friend who always says, "Can I just have a bite?" and proceeds to unhinge their jaw like a python. In Oklahoma, you can tell them no, and you'll have the full weight of the law behind you. 12. Welcome to Marion, Ohio, where it's against a local ordinance to eat a donut while walking backward. There are no historical records explaining what bizarre series of events led to this rule's creation. It's a solution to a problem that seemingly never existed. Was there a rash of citizens moonwalking into traffic while enjoying a cruller? We may never know. But if you're ever in Marion with a Boston cream, just make sure you're moving forward. It's not just good advice, it's the law. 13. Singapore is famously clean, and it achieved this in part by enacting one of the most notorious food-related bans in modern history: the sale and import of chewing gum. The ban was introduced in 1992 after vandals started sticking their used gum on the door sensors of the city's brand-new mass transit trains, causing constant disruptions. The government didn't mess around. They banned it outright. While the rules have softened slightly to allow for therapeutic or dental gum from a pharmacist, recreational gum is still a no-go. It's an extreme solution, but you have to admit the sidewalks are immaculate. 14. In Little Rock, Arkansas, it is illegal for any person to honk their car horn at a sandwich shop after 9 p.m. Not a restaurant, not a bar, specifically a place that sells sandwiches. This law paints a vivid picture. Imagine a late-night craving for a sub so powerful that you feel the need to announce your arrival with a blast from your horn. The city of Little Rock decided that was a step too far for post-9 p.m. society. The peace and quiet of the cold-cut enthusiast is, apparently, a top priority. 15. Gentlemen, take note. An old city ordinance in Pocatello, Idaho, once made it illegal to give your sweetheart a box of candy weighing less than 50 pounds. While this law is almost certainly a piece of local folklore that's no longer enforced, it speaks volumes about a certain go big or go home attitude. This wasn't just about a romantic gesture. It was about ensuring a level of commitment that could be measured in pure, diabetic, coma-inducing weight. A dozen roses is nice, but a quarter ton of chocolate is forever. 16. In France, it was for a very long time illegal to name a pig Napoleon. This law was born out of a deep-seated respect for Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte and a desire to prevent his name from being associated with, well, a pig. Although the law has since been repealed, for over a century it stood as a bizarre legal barrier protecting the dignity of a long-dead ruler. It's a perfect example of how national pride can extend into the most unexpected corners of life, right down to the barnyard. 17. Iowa takes its butter very seriously. a state law explicitly makes it an offense to palm off margarine as the real thing. The legal text refers to any substitute as counterfeit butter, which makes it sound less like a dairy product and more like a forged currency. The law demanded that any establishment serving a butter substitute had to display a placard with the words, "We serve imitation butter," in large, bold letters. It's a clear message. In Iowa, there's butter, and then there's a culinary crime. 18. Some states encourage healthy habits, but Utah took it a step further. While not a mandate for every citizen, the state has a law that makes milk a required component of provisions for any public establishment or institution during a state of emergency. This is part of its emergency preparedness statutes. In essence, if things go south in Utah, you can be sure that alongside the flashlights and first aid kits, there will be a mandated supply of milk. It's a wholesome approach to surviving the apocalypse. 19. The city of Mobile, Alabama, is famous for its lively Mardi Gras celebrations, which actually predate those in New Orleans. But amidst the parades and parties, there's a strict rule. It is illegal to sell or use confetti. The city also bans things like silly string. While the ordinance is aimed at making cleanup easier after massive public events, there's a certain irony in a city known for one of America's biggest parties banning one of the most basic symbols of celebration. It's a party, just a very, very tidy one. 20. In Pennsylvania, some combinations are considered an offense not just to the palate, but to the law. An old and obscure blue law makes it illegal to offer a drink that is a mixture of beer and milk. We're not sure who, if anyone, ever requested this horrifying concoction, but state legislators clearly felt the need to preemptively ban it from existence. It's a law that protects citizens from their own worst culinary impulses, and for that, perhaps we should be grateful. 21. In Washington state, the law takes a very firm stance against casual fruit theft. It is explicitly illegal to pick fruit from someone else's tree, a crime charmingly referred to in some legal circles as larceny of fruit. This isn't just about swiping an apple from a neighbor's branch. The law was designed to protect the state's massive commercial orchards from poaching. So, while it might seem tempting to grab that perfect-looking cherry hanging over a fence, remember that you could be considered a bona fide fruit rustler. 22. Have you ever wondered where the term baker's dozen comes from? It's rooted in a medieval English law designed to terrify bakers into honesty. The law, known as the Assize of Bread and Ale, imposed severe punishments on bakers who sold loaves of bread that were underweight. To avoid any risk of being fined, flogged, or pilloried, bakers would throw in an extra loaf for every dozen they sold, just to be safe. That 13th rule wasn't a gesture of kindness. It was a form of legal insurance against brutal medieval justice. 23. Thinking of pranking your friend in New Orleans? Think again, if it involves pizza. In the city of New Orleans, it's against the law to have a pizza delivered to someone's house without them knowing about it. This is a hyper-specific ordinance aimed squarely at preventing practical jokes that leave an unsuspecting person with a surprise bill and a pepperoni pizza they never ordered. It's a rare case of the law stepping in to say, "That's not funny, just pay for your own dinner." 24. Kansas and Wisconsin are apparently in a state of undeclared dessert warfare. While Wisconsin mandates cheese on its apple pie, a law in Topeka, Kansas, makes it illegal to put a scoop of ice cream on top of a slice of cherry pie. There's no clear historical reason for this specific prohibition. It's just a clean, simple, and utterly baffling rule. It's as if the founders of Topeka gathered and decided that while cherry pie was acceptable, the unbridled joy of pairing it with ice cream was a bridge too far. 25. In Japan, the law surrounding the pufferfish, or fugu, is a masterclass in culinary terror. This fish contains a neurotoxin so potent it can be fatal if prepared incorrectly. Consequently, it is illegal for anyone without a special government license to prepare and serve fugu. To get this license, a chef must undergo years of rigorous apprenticeship, culminating in a final exam where they must prepare a fugu dish and then eat it themselves. It is the single most high-stakes final exam in the entire culinary world. A passing grade means you get to live. 26. In Maine, it's illegal to advertise on tombstones, even for food. At one point, clever marketers tried to slap ads on gravestones in a bid to reach cemetery visitors. After some rather tasteless campaigns involving soda and candy brands, the state legislature stepped in to ban the practice outright. The law now explicitly prohibits any commercial signage on headstones, keeping burial grounds free from intrusive ads, even if your sweet tooth is eternal. 27. For decades, the United States has had a complete ban on one of Scotland's most iconic national dishes, haggis. Since 1971, it has been illegal to import authentic Scottish haggis into the U.S. The reason? One of its key traditional ingredients is sheep's lung. The USDA has deemed livestock lungs to be an inedible food product, unfit for human consumption. This has created a permanent culinary blockade, forcing Scottish expats and curious foodies in America to settle for lungless, and therefore inauthentic, versions of the delicacy. 28. In Tennessee, there is a law that makes it a crime to sell, or even possess with intent to sell, a hollow log. This sounds like the government waging war on beavers, but the real target was much more clever. During the Prohibition era, bootleggers and moonshiners famously used hollowed-out logs to transport and hide their illicit liquor. The law wasn't about the logs themselves. It was a brilliant, indirect way to disrupt the illegal alcohol trade by criminalizing one of its primary tools of concealment. 29. Canada has a very specific vision for your breakfast. It's illegal there to sell margarine that isn't fortified with vitamin A and vitamin D, and it must be a specific shade of yellow. The same goes for milk. This isn't a suggestion, it's the law. The government essentially decided that these foods, in their natural state, weren't nutritious enough for the Canadian public. It's a paternalistic approach to public health, where your butter substitute is legally required to take its vitamins. 30. Colonial Connecticut was the Silicon Valley of counterfeit spices. Peddlers from the state became so notorious for selling fake nutmeg made out of carved wood that the phrase wooden nutmeg became slang for any kind of fraud. The problem was so widespread that Connecticut eventually had to pass laws specifically making it illegal to sell fake nutmeg. It's one of the earliest examples of consumer protection legislation in America, all because people couldn't stop whittling fake spices. 31. Let's talk about the world's most dangerous cheese. In Sardinia, Italy, there exists a traditional sheep milk cheese called casu marzu. Its defining feature is that it's intentionally infested with live insect larvae. These maggots digest the fats in the cheese, fermenting it to a point of near liquefaction. It's considered a delicacy, but because of the obvious health risks, like the larvae surviving in your intestine, it is illegal to sell under European Union food hygiene regulations. This has driven the cheese underground, turning it into a black market delicacy that you can only find if you know a guy. 32. In New York, some old laws die hard. A statute still on the books makes it illegal to walk around on a Sunday with an ice cream cone in your pocket. This rule sounds like the punchline to a joke, but it likely originates from a time when carrying ice cream in your pocket was a strange, roundabout way to skirt blue laws that restricted buying certain items on a Sunday. By having the cone already on your person, you could claim you didn't just buy it. It's a bizarre legal loophole that lawmakers felt compelled to close. 33. If you're a food truck operator in China, you need to be strategic about where you park. In many major cities, it is illegal for street food vendors to operate within 100 meters of a primary or secondary school. The stated goal is to promote healthier eating habits among students by keeping the temptation of fried squid on a stick at a safe distance. It's a well-intentioned law that has created an invisible, government-mandated no-fry zone around the nation's schools. 34. Australia once went to war against birds and lost. In 1932, the country was facing a massive emu problem. a flock of 20,000 emus was devastating wheat crops in Western Australia. The government responded by deploying the military, armed with machine guns. This event is now famously known as the Great Emu War. The soldiers, however, found the fast-moving, resilient birds to be nearly impossible targets. After weeks of comical failure and national embarrassment, the military withdrew. The emus had won. This led to a system of bounties and exclusion fencing, a far more effective and less humiliating solution. 35. In Germany, the purity of beer is not a matter of taste. It's a matter of national law. The Reinheitsgebot, or the German beer purity law, originated in Bavaria in 1516 and is one of the oldest food quality regulations in the world. It originally stipulated that the only ingredients that could be used in the production of beer were water, barley, and hops. Yeast was added later once it was discovered. While the law has been updated for modern brewing, its spirit remains, ensuring that German beer adheres to a standard that's over 500 years old. 36. In Texas, there's a law that sounds like it was written by a disgruntled child. It is illegal to serve Limburger cheese on a Sunday. This intensely pungent cheese was apparently considered too much of an olfactory assault for the Lord's Day. Like many blue laws, it's a relic of a more pious and apparently more scent-sensitive era. The idea that a specific cheese could be deemed too offensive for one day of the week is a beautiful example of legislative overreach. 37. Let's travel to the town of Haddon, New Jersey, where romance is strictly regulated. An old law in this township makes it illegal to accost a person of the opposite sex by offering them a pickle. Yes, specifically, a pickle. While the law is clearly outdated and likely arose from a forgotten local incident, it stands as a monument to baffling specificity. Flowers are fine, chocolates are great, but in Haddon, a pickle is apparently a forbidden tool of courtship. 38. In Scotland, your dinner could be considered a matter of national security. A law from 1457 makes it illegal for a citizen to refuse a request from the king to use their house, to store food and drink for the army. This law was part of a series of acts passed to ensure the Scottish military was always provisioned and ready for a potential English invasion. So if you're ever at home and a monarch knocks on your door asking to store some rations in your pantry, you legally have to say yes. 39. In Oregon, it is illegal to pump your own gas, and that includes the snacks. This quirky law forbids self-service gas stations and extends to vending machines at some rest stops, which can only be operated by employees. The idea was originally to create jobs and prevent accidents. So next time you're on a road trip through Oregon, just remember, even if you just want chips and a soda, someone else has to serve you. 40. Watch your step in Louisiana, especially if you're a crawfish. A state law protects these beloved crustaceans by making it a crime to steal them from a crawfish farm or trap. The crime is known as crawfish theft and can carry some surprisingly hefty penalties, including fines and jail time. In Louisiana, crawfish aren't just food. They're a cornerstone of the culture and economy. Messing with someone's crawfish boil is one thing, but messing with their supply is a serious offense. 41. Thinking of having a pizza delivered by air? Not so fast. The Federal Aviation Administration in the United States has very strict rules about operating drones for commercial purposes, including food delivery. Getting certified is a complex and expensive process. This means that while companies are experimenting with it, your dream of having a pepperoni pizza descend from the heavens into your backyard is tangled in a web of federal aviation regulations. It's a classic case of technology moving faster than bureaucracy. The future is here, it's just waiting for the right paperwork. 42. In Sweden, it's illegal to name a restaurant dish something that misleads the customer. The Swedish Food Agency strictly enforces truth in labeling rules, even for menus. In one infamous case, a chef was fined for calling a vegan burger a beef burger, in quotation marks, claiming it was ironic. The court disagreed, ruling that diners shouldn't be confused or misled about what's on their plate. It's an unexpectedly serious approach to keeping menus honest. 43. In Chicago, it is illegal to serve alcohol at a restaurant if the kitchen is closed. This ordinance was designed to discourage late-night drinking without food. While it sounds sensible, it's led to some absurd scenes. Bartenders desperately heating up frozen pizzas at 1 a.m. just to legally keep pouring drinks. In Chicago, your shot of whiskey comes with a side of something, anything, edible. 44. The phrase, "there's no such thing as a free lunch," wasn't just a clever economic saying. It was born from actual laws. In the 19th century, American saloons would offer a free lunch to patrons, but there was a catch. The food was incredibly salty. The salty ham, crackers, and cheese were designed to make customers intensely thirsty, ensuring they would buy more high-profit beer. As the temperance movement grew, many states passed anti-free lunch laws to crack down on this practice, making it illegal to give away food in a place that sells alcohol. 45. For nearly 80 years, you were technically breaking the law by singing "Happy Birthday" to you in public without paying for it. The song was under a strict copyright held by the music publisher Warner Chappell, who collected millions in royalties. Restaurants created their own weird, legally safe birthday songs to avoid paying fees. The copyright was finally invalidated by a federal judge in 2015 after a lengthy class action lawsuit, officially releasing the world's most popular song into the public domain. It was a victory for birthday parties everywhere. 46. What is chocolate? According to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the answer is incredibly specific. For a product to be legally labeled as milk chocolate, it must contain at least 10% chocolate liquor and 12% milk solids. If it doesn't meet these precise standards, it can't be called chocolate. This is why you see products with a chocolatey coating or chocolatey flavor. They aren't trying to be cute. They are legally barred from using the word chocolate because they don't meet the government's exact definition. 47. In the mid-20th century, a popular fixture in American shoe stores was the fluoroscope, an X-ray machine that let you see the bones in your feet inside a new pair of shoes. It was a spectacular piece of retail theater. However, after the health risks of radiation exposure became clear, states began to ban them. Nevada has a law that specifically makes it illegal to use any X-ray, fluoroscopic, or other radiation-producing equipment for the purpose of fitting shoes. It's a relic from a time when shoe shopping came with a side of radiation. 48. In France, dogs are not just pets, they are dining companions. Unlike in many parts of the United States, French law is incredibly welcoming to dogs in restaurants. It's perfectly legal and socially acceptable for a well-behaved dog to sit with its owner, often on its own chair, at a bistro or cafe. The health codes are written to allow it, trusting owners to manage their pets. It's a cultural difference so profound that for many American tourists, seeing a poodle patiently waiting for its meal at the next table is a beautiful and slightly surreal sight. 49. In Houston, Texas, a city ordinance makes it illegal to sell Limburger cheese on a Sunday. Wait, we already covered that one for Texas, right? No, Houston has a separate law, but this one has a bizarre partner rule. On that same day, it is also illegal to sell rice. The combination is staggering. It's as if the city council had a meeting to specifically target two completely unrelated food items and ban their sale for one day of the week. The reasons are lost to history, leaving behind a perfectly confusing piece of local law. All right, we've navigated 49 layers of legislative madness, and there's only one grand finale left. But before we reveal our final exhibit, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most fantastically absurd rule on today's list goes to the United Kingdom's law against handling a salmon in suspicious circumstances, simply because it creates a mental image of a film noir detective interrogating a fish in a trench coat. Do you agree with our verdict? Or did another law deserve the crown? Let us know your pick in the comments. And now, for our grand finale. 50. This isn't a single law, but a government rulebook that will change how you look at every meal you ever eat. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration publishes something called the Food Defect Levels Handbook. This official document details the maximum allowable amount of, well, filth in your food. It's a list of natural or unavoidable defects that present no health hazard. This includes up to 60 insect fragments per 100 grams of chocolate, 2 maggots in a 500-gram can of tomato juice, and an average of 1 rodent hair per 100 grams of peanut butter. The government knows your food isn't perfectly clean. They just made a chart to decide exactly how gross it's allowed to be. They are the footnotes of society, written by people who were either brilliant, bored, or had a very specific problem with a neighbor's donut eating habits. What's the most unbelievable rule you've ever heard of, even if it's not about food? If you enjoyed this journey into legislative chaos, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because our search for the world's most absurd realities never ends.